Life is short, sometimes goes by the blink of an eye, goes
Mm.
by the blink of an eye, don't
Yep.
wanna let go. Life is long, sometimes can't wait to get to the end, can't wait to get to the end, just hoping to go. Here we go. Tally up the right and wrongs, the highest highs, the saddest songs. Make mistakes along the way. Hold me on my darkest day. Yo,
Ooh.
this song Arkel's Life Is. I want you to listen to it afterwards, Peter, because I think you will be like, yo, this is what entrepreneurship is like. Like it is. I was listening to it and I just like reflecting on like everything, and I was just like, wow, this song is crazy. I'm gonna send it to you, and I'll put it in the show notes. Such a good freaking song.
Parkels. That range though.
That
Low,
rain.
low, high. Exactly, just like entrepreneurship.
There you go. There you go. What's up with you, man? How's life been?
Life is great, man. Dude, I'm excited to hear about your half marathon this weekend, man. Let's tell the folks a little recap of your PR, man. Congrats on that.
Thank you, thank you. First off, hashtag WAW, hashtag we always win. You know the vibes. Go getters. Let's get it. Yeah, I was going into the half. I was trying to sign up for a race. I didn't get into the same race as Christy. Christy's first half. I think she got like a 142. And I was like, damn. And I knew I wasn't going to
Moving.
beat her because she's fast. She's like definitely faster than me. But I was just like, man, I'm trying to get a sub 150 because when I started this journey about 2 years ago, two Thanksgivings ago, I got a 216 half. I just decided to run a half. I was like, damn, that was hard. Then I ran a half the following year. I hit 156. And then this one, I hit 146. And then next year, I don't know about 136, but I'm shooting for under 140. But
Hey, you
the,
just gotta speak it out into the world, and
yeah,
then now we gotta hold you accountable. Sub 140, you said?
yeah. I ran into my boy Trevor afterwards, after the race. I didn't even know he was racing. But I was looking at our splits, and it was a pretty decent course. Like I think a decent amount of uphill mile 9, like halfway for that mile, but 11 to 12 was straight uphill. And
Damn.
I was looking at Trevor's splits. It was like good, 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 good. 11 to 12 was like super long, and I was just like, I was. That was the only part where I was like hurting a little bit because I started to feel my calf. I was like, damn, I can feel myself slowing down and the effort getting harder, but I'm like, I'm already so close. Let's
Yeah,
just get
push
it.
through.
Yeah.
What part of New York was this? Where they had the uphill?
You remember Nick and Sons when you came?
Say that one more time.
Remember when you came? You went to one of the bakeries in Brooklyn and Greenpoint, and then you went to Nick
Oh
and
yeah,
Sons.
yeah, yeah. Yep.
So we
That's
started
by
right
there.
by Nick
Okay.
and Sons, and then you run along the water, then you run down Flatbush, then you get to Prospect Park, and you do a lap, like kind of half of it, and then you kind of come through the park and you run in the park. But
Mm.
the park is like it's kind of it's like I don't run there, so I have no idea of like distance. So I'm like, yo, when does this shit end? It feels like it's never ending.
Yeah, I feel like the couple times I've been up to New York, New York is like sneakily hilly.
Yeah. Well, you
It's
ran Central Park, dude. Central Park is gets
yeah,
hilly.
it's hilly. It's good. Yeah, it's good course. I mean, I'm down here in Florida, so everything is just straight flat, man.
So how do
But
you prepare
yeah,
for
it's
that?
huh?
How do you prepare for hills when you run?
You can we've got a couple of bridges here, so we can do some bridge training. But other than that, it's like that's about it. Down here in Florida, though, it's super humid, so a lot of times people will compare, training in humidity as similar to training in elevation or training in like Atlanta or New York, where it's like the terrain is like super hilly, gives you a little bit of that challenge and whatnot. So that's super exciting, though. Congrats on the PR, dude.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Afterwards, I felt pretty good, honestly. Just kind of chilled on the terrace, cracked open a nice chilled red, and we're just vibing. I know you like the chilled reds, bro.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, like Andy was actually the person who got me onto chilled reds. I didn't even know you could chill a red, but first time I went up and we hung out up in New York, he started ordering some chilled reds. I was like, holy shit, like this is actually really good.
Yeah, it's super refreshing and it's like kind of tart, so it's like a nice medium between like a sour beer and like wine, which is like
Hmm.
super refreshing in the summertime. But how you been?
I'm good, man. About to get married in a couple weeks, so getting excited for that, man.
Man, I know. Christy actually brought that up the other day. He's like, what are you gonna wear? Because you kind of get a little beachy, and I'm like, I might have to bust out a little fedora action. I don't know.
Bust out fedora, got to go linen. And yeah, like go barefoot or flat sandals,
You definitely getting,
loafers.
you definitely walking in super shoes, bro.
The carbon plates.
You got to tell people though what the plan is. Is it the morning of?
Yeah, so the morning of, we're making everyone come through, and we're gonna race a 5K. There will be no walking involved. It's we're running it.
Oh my gosh! And what are the odds? Because there's one friend you said that is gonna be
Yeah,
that.
so I think so. Catherine, the way she's gonna do it is she's gonna give out prizes for people that are gonna be able to beat me in the 5K. And I've probably got maybe like 3 or 4 friends I know coming for sure. They're like definitely faster than me. So it'll be fun to kind of chase them and give a good little push 5K action.
Do those three friends work with the coach?
Oh yeah, man. They've got a coach. It's just hard to continue to push those higher levels without that extra guidance. Even for myself, man. For running, like I have a coach that I utilize. It's incredibly great when you have accountability as well as the specific guidance in terms of understanding. What do I have to do this day? What's the next block looking like, etc.
Wow, what a perfect segue to today's episode, right, Peter? What are
Perfect
we gonna talk
transition.
about? See, we got a little setup. Give me the alley oop, boom. And
Little
I think
Dwayne Wade, LeBron action.
yeah. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be Dwayne Wade or LeBron?
I'll be Dwayne, man. Like, yeah, that iconic picture after he throws up the lobby, just going like the wide angle T without looking up. You can be LeBron with the alley oop, bro.
Yeah, Peter is like probably 2 feet taller than me, so I couldn't be either. But I think one thing that we were always we're talking about is like, hey, what should we riff on during the podcast? And the next two episodes, this one and next week, I'm super excited about. But today, this one, we're just talking about coaching. And with coaching, I just think when you look at some of the greatest to ever do it, everyone's got a coach. The best tennis players have a coach. Michael Jordan obviously has a coach, not just like Phil Jackson, but he's got like a mindfulness coach. He's got like a nutrition, like he's got everything. You look at LeBron, he's got a coach for everything. And I think I've always mentioned this before, but if you're an entrepreneur, you're an athlete, and you've got to have coaches. So what's your take on that?
No, I agree with everything you said, man. I think, yeah, like growing up playing a lot of sports, we a lot of times, you just value that guidance. That way you don't need to overthink things. I know a lot of times within our own personal mindset, we kind of get in our own ways. And so when you have that, that expert guidance that can tell you exactly what to do, you're just able to, avoid a lot of the mistakes. And I know we talked a lot about this before on the on previous episodes, but the main thing with having coaches that I feel like is super beneficial is just the fact that they're able to help you compress time. And time is the one thing that you can never get enough of. Money comes and goes, right? But time, that's the one thing that's just constantly ticking. It's getting smaller and smaller. So if I can compress the time to from where I'm currently at to where I want to go, like I will 100% invest in that. And I know this for myself. Like when I first initially started, like I invested in coaching right from the get go, right? And that was really one of the main things that I felt like allowed me to kind of catapult up into throughout the next couple of years. And then even still to this day, I know me and you, we both have coaches, whether it's for mental side of things. I have a guy that I'm using to, help audit our ads currently, media buy, right? Helping assist with that. So, constantly, like I'm always looking to, level up, whether that's just kind of like the inner competitor within me. But I know like the only way I can level up is if I have somebody who is, an expert in that. And for me, I'm still kind of exploring. I feel like I'm still exploring different things that I haven't even touched yet. And so, in order for me to be adequate at it, I need the guidance.
Yeah, man. I started off with a coach right out the gates, and I'll tell you right now, it's like I think I've been super fortunate that a lot of different physical therapists follow me. So it's like I have these sample sizes of like people that I get to connect with that are insanely successful, and then people that kind of keep coming and DMing me with the same frustrations that they have year after year. And I'm like, they just never invest in themselves. And one thing that got me super hooked on like this kind of taking continuing education, getting coaches is like, I remember very vividly, I paid $7,000 for this clinical mentorship.
Mm.
Insane. But that clinical mentorship, like within like a few weeks, I was able to solve a couple of problems, like evaluations that came in. I was able to help them immediately, and I closed them. Granted, at that time I was working for someone else, but it made me feel so much more confident. And that's when I realized I'm like, okay, all these little things that I'm doing, if it helps me solve a problem, it's going to make me more valuable. And currently, right now, no one is investing in themselves investing in themselves as much as like people that I've kind of been surrounded with. Like shout outs to my old boss Ryan Chow. He's kind of the one that has been relentless with continuing education, and he's like, bro, why wouldn't I keep taking courses? Every single time I take a course, I learn a new skill. I use that new skill. I close a new client. I close a new client. Now I've got that skill for free. He's like, I'm just going to keep rinsing and repeating that process
Yeah.
all the time. And that's essentially what I've done. Like I've spent clinical education at least 150K. Business coaching, I would say at least 200K. And it's made me insanely valuable. Like I would do it over again. I have no regrets, even though I had like two really bad apples, like two really bad apples, three bad apples.
Yeah. So I think a lot of times when people look into investing, right, they always want like a surefire kind of guarantee or certainty that they're going to make some sort of money back, right? And so if you think about like what's the average annual return on the stock market year over
8%.
year? 8%, right? 8%. And so let's say you've invested 200K into coaching. I know I've invested around 250K into coaching since I've started over the last 5 years. I was doing the math on this. I think in the last 5 years, my business has collected over, I think, close to around 2.9 million in cash collected for my like cash physical therapy practice. So if we look at the percent ROI on that, like that's massive. You're never going to be able to get that in comparison to the stock market, right? Is it risky? Yeah, 100% it's risky, right? There's going to be some good coaching programs that will provide you outsized returns. There's going to be some of those bad apples, right? That you kind of talked about where it's just like, hey, like we went in and it maybe didn't get us the the result that we wanted. But again, with that, there's a lot of variables involved, right? But the main thing is like if you look at that, for every $1 you put in, every dollar you get out, right? Like aside from ads, I think the next predictable way to get a guaranteed investment is by betting on yourself with education and business. Because if you think about it, like you pay it this one time for this like knowledge that you currently don't have, for this skill set that you haven't mastered yet. But this skill set is going to be with you for the rest of your life, and it's only going to continue to compound. Right? It's like you talk about, hey, 2.9 cash collected over the last 5 years. Cool. Like that's only going to continue to compound over the next 5 to 10 years. And if we look at that amount of ROI from like a 10-year, 15-year comparison, like I don't even know what the math on that is, but it's insane. You know?
So we've done 1.9 in total cash collected, strictly just from the physical therapy side of things, practice
Yeah.
wise. And let's say I invested 200K, it would take me 29.3 years for that 8% to compound
Yeah.
to that. So I think that is huge. And Alex Ramosi has a joke. It's like a SN me 5,000, but there's a degree of like understanding finances with this, right? Because it's like you invest in yourself, you get to make more money. Then with that money you make, you continue to invest in yourself and also create assets, right? So it's not like we're saying like don't ever invest in assets. It's do both. Like when you increase your earning power, you can take care of future you, and you can also take care of you right now. And most people are always thinking about like, oh, the future me, the future me. And I think earning power is so much like there's so much ROI there if you develop that skill set and start to close and double, triple kind of what you would make in a year. There's so much flexibility there. But I love your point about like the risk, right? Because I think nowadays it's becoming more and more saturated in the market, And I think an easy way to stand out is just to guarantee something. Like, for us, it's like we're guaranteeing that you're going to be able to close at least 10K. And if we don't, then, we'll work with you for free until then. And we just haven't had to because it's not that hard, right? Like if you work really hard and we teach you what we've done, this repeatable process that we've utilized to scale our practice. We just had shout outs to Kevin to close his first package and he was so hyped. But these little victories, man, like once it happens once, you will not be able to look back, and like be like, oh, that once you do it once, you can do it multiple times. It just takes that one person to trust you, and you know that it's a possibility.
Yeah. Speaking of risk, man, I think every single successful entrepreneur, if you like just take a survey and ask everyone who's been successful, made a shit ton of money, made a ton of impact, like nobody has actually ever, quote, quote, played it safe. Right. And never made any kind of like, bets on whether themselves or in any additional, business decision or even like investing in education for themselves. Everyone's always had to take some risk at some point. Again, like if there's no risk, there's no reward. And I think I always like to think like, in terms of guarantee, like the only thing that's guaranteed is the fact that like, hey, like if you don't do anything about your current situations, like you're guaranteed to stay in your current situation. Whether it's like somebody dealing with back pain, all they've done is like stretch, ice, and the same exercises. I guarantee you, like, yeah, it's you're gonna take a risk, like paying 3K for this like highly specialized physical therapy to fix your back, right? But the only thing that's guaranteed is like if you don't do this, like you're gonna continue to have this back pain. Or same thing, like somebody who is currently stuck at like 3 to 5K. It's funny, like I won't mention the name, but there were a couple of calls I was on like 2 weeks ago. Two clinicians, both separate, but they've been doing 3 to 5K over the last like 2 years. Haven't seen any kind of changes at all. And they were like obviously terrified to make some sort of like investment into coaching. And I was like, if you guys continue to do what you've been doing for the last 3 to 5 years, like the only thing that's guaranteed is like another 3 to 5K month, my guy. And so it's like if you don't change the input, like the only thing that's guaranteed is your current situation. And so I think a lot of times is like people, coaches, mentors, right? They've been exactly where you want to go. And so they're able to point out like all the blind spots and all the things that you should be doing so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. You can, skip all the trial and errors that, you probably could figure it out on your own, right? It's like you're doing 3 to 5K. You're currently there for 3 to 5 years, the last 2 years. It might take you like another 5 to 7 years to finally crack that 10K. So it's like, you might figure it out eventually, but why would I spend 5 to 7 years to, to do that when I can just fix it within 1 month?
For sure. And if you're in that situation, bro, you might as well just work for somebody else. Like,
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, go work for someone else. You can get the 401k match. You can get health insurance. Like, and you get
yeah.
paid more than 3 to 5K. Like, stop it.
But yeah, like the first, and Peter and I, we were buddies while we are both physical therapy students. Peter joined a mastermind group first because he started his practice, I think, like 2 years before we did.
Mm.
And then we started a practice, and eventually we were in the same group. But in that group, I was in that, Christy and I were in that group for probably a total of 2.5 years, right? And it was the easiest decision to keep continuing because we kept making more money. And I was looking at Christy. I'm like, I'm gonna keep paying as long as I'm learning, developing, and making more money. But after about the 2 year mark, I realized we kind of hit a plateau,
Yeah.
and it was like the same tactics. I wasn't getting better at sales. I was just good at selling to like a very warm lead, word of mouth. Like these are people that like you could say anything and they'll commit to working with you, right? And I think
Hmm.
when you want to keep scaling, you have to develop new skills. So it's like it can't just be more workshops, more injury screens, and selling to a warm lead. It's like, how do I start to get someone in my ecosystem, nurture them super quickly, and get them to commit sooner rather than like, okay, they've got to follow my Instagram content now for the next year. Like, no, I want to get someone into the CRM. I want the CRM to nurture them over time, show them how we're different, and speed up this process. And the group that we were in initially, I think they did well for certain aspects, definitely helped us get where we are today. But you eventually hit a plateau, and then that's when you keep looking for more answers. And since then, that being the first one I did, I did one before as another PT one as well. It was trash. Didn't get much out of it. Um, I think I've had 6 or 7 different business coaches, but that was the first experience. And that's what I realized. It's like, as long as I'm growing and as long as I'm making money, you can take all my money. Like, I want to keep paying you. And I tell that to any kind of agency we work with, whether that's like the SEO, our PR people. You know, we're paying a couple of thousand every single month, but we're seeing an ROI in our business. So it's like, why wouldn't I continue to pay?
Yeah, I think the main thing is, you have to continue to see results and success. I think that was why, kind of similar to you. I think after like 2 years, there wasn't really anybody else that was all cash that was doing higher in terms of monthly revenue than I was. And so for me, I couldn't necessarily see, hey, like somebody else that I could ask to, let me know, hey, like what's the next move that I should make. And so with that, right, I ended up leaving. And then yeah, I think Cash BT is still like at this time is still so new. So there really wasn't many people like, doing 7 figures a year. And so because of that, like I ended up reaching out to people that weren't in within like the traditional Cash BT coaching space for additional help and guidance. I enrolled in different sales programs for people that were doing completely remote high ticket sales, people closing like 10K, 15K over Zoom. I was like, all right, if they're able to do that, like we should definitely be able to, teach our like staff PTs. We're in person, we have a ton of rapport, we're providing a ton of value, giving intercession change. There's no way why we can't close like a 2 to 3K or even 5K plan of care, right? There's some sort of knowledge that's missing in order for me to be able to, guide our team to be able to hit that. And then same thing when it, comes to like predictable leads and marketing, right? Like you said, a lot of the initial stuff, the local marketing, that's fantastic. But when you have a team of 4 or 5 PTs, how do we continue to scale that up? Okay, cool. There's a ton of agencies out there that are doing like spending $1 million a month in just advertising. They probably have some sort of knowledge that I can probably learn from so that we can spend 10K 15K per month, which is a fraction of what they're spending within our local market, and still be able to turn a net profitable return on ad spend. And for me, it was just like super frustrating that like, hey, like if all these people are doing it, like how come I don't know it, right? So I will rather like pay somebody to be able to teach me this knowledge and this gap so that I am able to, have a better understanding of, how to be able to lead my team better, how to be able to continue to scale and grow. And so a lot of times, like if you guys are, currently in a, coaching group and you just haven't necessarily been seeking results, like you guys have to look elsewhere. Like there's answers elsewhere. But you just have to, continue to look and grow. Like the safe thing to do is just, continue to stay like in that coaching group. I love the group, right? I love like shooting the shit with all the other people in the group. But again, just wasn't necessarily feeling like I'm being pushed. Right. And so I think the level of the people that you surround yourself with is really at the end of the day, like what's going to force you to not be complacent, but continue to seek to become, the next level, the better version of yourself. Right. And I think a lot of it will relate back to running as well, too. I love training and, doing track and running with people who are always faster than me. I always love chasing somebody. Right. It's always a lot of fun versus like, hey, if you're the smartest person in the room, like, yeah, it might boost your ego a little bit. If you're the fastest person, training wise, like it's great. But it's like, who's going to push you to become better? The only way to do that is if you have somebody who's ahead of you and you can chase.
Yeah, dude, like you've learned from some absolute savages. Like, and when you mentioned some of the things, even some of the prices, I was like, damn, bro. But like, who have you learned from that you're like, wow, this is like next level?
Yeah, there's a couple different people. So one of the parts of our businesses is like a semi-private small group personal training. So when we first initially launched that, it was great, but I didn't necessarily know how to scale it to the next level. And so we ended up working with Gym Launch to be able to help scale up our like our fitness side of things. And then so that was something that completely wasn't physical therapy at all. Alex Ramosi, I've been consuming a ton of his content. I'm sure a lot of you guys listening all know who he is, but I ended up flying out to Vegas and doing like I think like it was a 2 or 3 day live event workshop at his acquisition headquarters. Just really looking at how does private equity value and look at acquiring a small local based business. So that was super insightful in terms of just understanding, hey, what are some key factors that you need to have within a business in order for it to be actually considered some sort of value. And boy, was that a big, shock. I went there and realized like, holy shit, there's a lot of stuff that I need to work on in order to get my business to, to the next level. Otherwise, it's like, it's not sellable at all. It's like, I think it's like, it's valuable, but obviously I'm biased. But it's just crazy the amount of work that you need to do in order to bring it to the next level. But again, like, had I not gone, I would have not known, like, these are all the different things I needed to tweak and change. In terms of like sales, I've gone through a couple of Jeremy Miner's courses. I think he's great. Brian Choi, he's also another uh, person in sales is pretty good. Matt Ryder, these are all people who that I've gone through some consulting with, and yeah, they're just big people in the sales space. And then in terms of ads, I've gone through I've gotten some help from Tanner Chidester. Not sure if you've known him, but yeah, he does a lot of ads within kind of like the online consulting. So it's just these are all buckets like sales, marketing, right? That you get some sort of experience within like the initial like coaching groups, but again, there's like people where their entire like business or everything that they're doing in the day to day is just dialed in and around this, right? So we can kind of take some nuggets from them and weave it into our cash practice. It's like, okay, cool, like this is really what's going to set us apart from everybody else, and be able to bring it and scale it to the next level, whether it's with the next clinician or the next clinic location.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like I remember doing a couple of like ads courses or like mastermind groups, and they're more PT based, two of them, and I think we lost 30 something $1,000 without
Yeah.
an actual ROI. And this last year we started with like late last year we started with scaling with systems, so that's like Ravi. And I was just like, damn, these guys are able to do it for a lot of different businesses, do it completely online, and we're brick and mortar, and boom, like going super in depth, as high level as Ravi. Is it expensive? Hell yeah. Did I make an ROI? Of course, right? So all of these things are just like I am willing to take the risk because where I was at was painful, right? Like I wanted to be able to crush certain revenue numbers and continue to grow the team and build more opportunities. And to be honest, like you're kind of at this phase in entrepreneurship or like business now where it's like most people think that they want to start a business and make it be a lifestyle business, but no, you got to keep growing. Anyone that joins your team does not want to be a physical therapist for the next more than like honestly 3 to 4 years. Like they want to grow into bigger roles, and the only way that you can do that is by increasing your skill set, because it's like what the kids say these days, bro, it's a skill issue. Like if marketing is your main constraint, it's a skill issue. If your sales are really bad, it's a skill issue. And we've done stuff with there. I've hired Graham Cochran. He's like an online coach, and that's strictly for moment mentorship. That helped me with everything and took a huge deep dive into copywriting afterwards. And I did some stuff with Navel Mahora, and he's just like straight email marketing. Took a bunch of stuff from Sampar as well, and he just helps you break down other people's businesses. One of his things is called Ideation Boot Camp. So it's like you get a framework of like how to look and dissect other businesses. So we did an SEO class. I'm not sure if you watched it during one of our Tuesday weekly calls, but the group was cracking up because I was showing them how I break down other PT businesses and
Mhm.
what they're doing for SEO. And if they accidentally start to rank well for something, I start to intentionally rank well for it because I know people, right? I know the market. I know the people that are super intentional with business. And I know the people that are like, oh, let's just throw a blog once a month and see what happens. But you learn all these skills, and like it makes you like, if someone on a call was like, bro, you're a fucking weapon. I'm like, that's what you gotta fucking do. Like, you gotta know these things at a deeper level. And we're fucking great at being clinicians, right? But we're not like, there's not a lot of physical therapists that I've met where I'm like, wow, you are a phenomenal at ads. Like, you're probably, like, honestly, Peter, you're probably the physical therapist I know that's the best at ads and at sales, right? And before that, I don't even know who I could point to and be like, oh, that guy's a savage. He's getting a really repeatable ROI on like their ad spend and having all these things dialed in. So yeah, I see it all the time where like people are just stuck. They keep staying stuck in this range, and once it becomes painful enough, you'll want to pay money. But it's like, why not just pay initially when you can already identify this constraint opposed to waiting till you're fucking bleeding? And it's like, we preach fucking proactive care all the time, but
Hmm.
we're never proactive about our business.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying with kind of like a couple bad apples, I think that's actually something that's actually very valuable as well too, right? Like sometimes you will invest in some coaching, and maybe it doesn't work out, um, but it's actually so valuable because that allows you to understand like what doesn't work, right? As well as it like as important as understanding, hey, like this is something that does work. I think understanding what to avoid is also like really important as well too. And it also allow you to understand like when you are investing and looking into like another coaching group in the future, right? Hey, what are some like potential red flags to look out for? So I think I always like try and make the best out of and un, out of a situation where maybe it didn't meet my expectations. So I think like even in some of the coaching groups where maybe didn't necessarily like meet the expectation and still took away something out of it. And I think that is something that like a lot of people should go into is just like cool, like even though I didn't get something, was there at least a couple golden nuggets, whether it's out of the modules or even out of the live calls that I was able to take away and implement it and moving forward. So if you can kind of view that as like still some sort of investment, like again, like it's I think just a mindset thing, man.
No, for sure. One of one of the bad apples, I was like, yo, this onboarding is fire. And I feel like you might know which one I'm talking about, but I was like, wow, they're on point with the onboarding. And after the onboarding, I was like, wow, this is whack. Like that was it. Like there was like no like ROI, there was no accountability. And I was like, hey, these ads are really bringing in like terrible leads. Like they're coming from locations in the city that we've never had patients from. And, we've been in business at that time for 2 years. So I was like, I have a decent, idea of like what our target demographic is and where they live, etc. But to your point, it's like I learned some from their mistakes. I learned to be aware of certain things. Like the first time we had hired someone to do some of our digital marketing and also our SEO. It was a physical therapist, and I was looking at the landing pages they were creating. I'm like,
Mhm.
this looks like SEO vomit. Like, sure, it might rank for a keyword, but when you actually use it, and when someone's actually browsing, it's like this is like looks like spam, right? So that's when I took a deep dive into SEO myself, and I took an SEO course. And every fucking month we're PRing, and I'm like, oh yeah, here we fucking go. But you kind of get a bad apple, you learn what the bad apple did, and then you start to like account for those things in the future. Like the first iteration is never going to be perfect, right? But I don't know a single person that continuously invests in themselves and in their business that isn't successful,
Mhm.
right? Like, you know anyone?
Not at all, man. Can't think of a single person.
Yeah, and we were part of a gym before in the past, and like it got to the point now where and I think you said you do the same, right? You're always like look you're on vacation, you're looking at like what can this business be doing? But I talk to people all the time here in New York, and I consulted with a couple of health and wellness brands that are like
Mhm.
opening up these really big luxury kind of things. And when I listen to their business plan, I'm like, bro, this shit is gonna be grand opening, grand closing. Like it's sexy and all, but like you've got no strategy to acquire. You have no idea what your long term retention plan is. You even like you're selling a service. You're not even selling like an experience. Like, I had a question for these like Goldman Sachs people that reached out to me because they're opening up this massive recovery studio. And I'm
Mhm.
like, how do you like change somebody's life? Like, what's the ideal outcome? They couldn't even tell me what a customer journey is. Like,
Yeah.
interesting. But have you seen our hyperbaric chamber? And I'm like, I mean, like anyone could buy a hyperbaric chamber. Like,
Yeah, I think like especially with these like wellness series and popping up, everyone's gonna want to pop in on the trend. But it's really understanding at the deep core. It's like, hey, like who's our avatar? What is their main problem that they have? Can we have a solution that can solve their problem? And do they want it bad enough? Is the problem urgent enough and large enough for it to be solved? If you can kind of understand these, couple basic things, and then obviously have offers and pricing right, then again, like you can slowly start to build and scale. But I know one of the things that a lot of times we fix immediately when people coming into our program, it's like is really just offer some pricing. They have the right avatar, they have people dealing with pain, they have the solution. but they're just mispriced appropriately. They're just mispriced tremendously, and maybe they don't have the right like offer stack. So they know that they can help them, but they can't communicate it in a way that allows the customer to understand it and speaks to them, right? So that's kind of like marketing basic 101.
Yeah, and there's if we think of yourself as like a Swiss Army knife, there's I think five skills that are like universal, right? And the first skill that you should get really good at is just learning, like whatever it is that is your product, right? For us, our product is rehab, physical therapy training. Like learn so that actually is serviceable. It actually delivers an outcome and it's valuable. From there, it's working on your marketing, right? And when you get really good at marketing, what do you eventually got to get good at? You got to get good at sales.
Mhm.
But when you start to get good at sales, what do you got to work on? You got to work on public speaking. When you get really good at public speaking, what else do you need to work on? Writing. Like those are like the five skills where I'm like, if you learn those skills, take masterminds, take courses, read books, and develop those skills, you will be wealthy in any space, I think, right?
Yeah.
If you can market, sell, speak, and write, you're good to go. You can crush it in whatever field you're in. But most physical therapists stay in this learning phase of just their craft for way too long.
Mhm. It's funny that you mentioned that. I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was like, man, like if my business like goes under and I need to start from like square one, like I can probably succeed in just about any industry because I understand how to market and I know how to like how to sell somebody. So it's like you learn these like tremendously valuable skills that just set you up for success, regardless of if you want to stay within like the physical therapy industry for the rest of your life or if you want to pivot to something else. These are just like really, really good skill sets that will set you up for success for no matter what you do, no matter what industry that you're in.
Yeah, we when we started our business, we got a coach immediately. Once I started the education practice, I'm at education side of things with Moment Education. I had two separate coaches. So I had one coach for business and one coach for Moment Education. Then I had a coach for marketing. So we were at the beginning of every month, $7,000 was coming out of our bank account.
Yeah.
But I was like, dude, the growth kept compounding, 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 compounding. And to your point, like the skills that you learn, if I was to ever enter another industry, the first thing I would do is find someone that is exactly where I want to be and pay that person money. I
Mm.
just know you just save so much frustration when you do that. Like if I were to ever start another business again, I would never do it alone. I would just figure out like who's already helping
What do
other
I need to
people.
pay? Yeah.
Yeah, who do I need to pay that's already done this shit, jump started it multiple times, just take my fucking money.
Yeah. Dude, I love learning, man. Yeah, it's so fun, learning new skills, being able to implement it, being able to kind of, go through some trial and error and then, see the result on the other side, So that's always something that I really enjoy.
Yeah, they at some point you're gonna look back and realize like you either fucking did the thing and you're reaping the rewards of it, or like you just were so terrified of investing in yourself and you just repeated the same year after year after year. And it's year 20, and you're seeing like younger clinicians that are graduating that are crushing it way more than you have, even though you've been in the industry. And you don't want to be that fucking bitter person, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what I always think about. Like, how would I feel when I'm 80? Well, will I always like regret not investing in myself more? I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, take my freaking money because I need to get better. Like I'm doing this to set myself up continuously. And again, you don't need to bat perfectly, right? I think one really solid mastermind can allow you to like pay for like four or five
Mhm.
and not even be good.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree on that, man. Like at the end, make sure, hey, like you don't have any regrets, leave no stone unturned. I think that's the one of the worst things that I would definitely not like to have like on my deathbed. It's like, man, like like what if, like what are the potential opportunities and why didn't I take advantage of that?
Well, guys, first off, PR downloads. Boom.
Pew,
That's
pew, pew,
beautiful.
pew. Dude, we need a blowhorn so that we can play that at the end of every single time we get a new PR, man.
We are at 20 five-star reviews.
Gang, gang, let's go.
Yo, should we just do a spontaneous? What do you think? Should we throw something spontaneous? Get some people excited about something. Because 25-star reviews, Peter, how you feel?
Dude, it's a milestone, man. 2x
Listen,
10 that we started out with.
listen, if you DM Go Getters Coaching on Instagram and you just DM us the letter 20 and you're super interested in joining the group, we'll throw a bonus for you. But today, right now, it's April 29th. That'll only go until May 6th. Anyone that sets up a call by May 6th to join Go Getters Coaching, we'll do something special. Because, yo, y'all supporting us, 25-star reviews, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, and going on the fact that we've been in so many different groups, you guys already know the experience here is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be fire. We basically pulled out the best out of the best out of the best.
Yeah, it's I mean, right after this call, we have the weekly call with our group. Peter runs the Wednesday sales call. I run just like a hodgepodge call on Tuesdays, office hours. We try to rotate. You know, sometimes it's mindset, sometimes it's sales, sometimes it's marketing, social media, content, etc. But today, you know, breaking down like how to sell before you sell. And every single week, we're just trying to level up. You know, like we're learning stuff from our mastermind groups that we're a part of, the coaches that we have, and then we pour into our community. And I love it, man. I have so much fun. The calls are fucking dope. The community is freaking amazing. And we got 520, oh, we have 25-star reviews. So DM us the number 220 by next week. This sounds like one of them fucking old infomercials. If you do this by the next 15 minutes, but no, for real, we got a deal for you. I don't know what it is, but we'll make it worth your while. Thank you guys for supporting us. Appreciate y'all.
Catch y'all next time.
Peace.